Folks, we need to talk about the year 2025. Sounds cute, right? Future, flying cars, jetpacks, the stuff of sci-fi dreams, except not so much. See, some folks have other plans and they call it Project 2025. This ain't about better healthcare or fighting climate change. It's not about making our world a better place. This is about power, raw, unchecked power, the kind that corrupts absolutely. We're talking shrinking the government down to a size where you could drown it in a bathtub. A government so small, it can't protect you. Now I know what you're thinking. Government's bloated, less is more. Streamline the system. And yeah, bureaucracy can be a pain. Endless forms, long lines, inefficiency. But here's the thing. This ain't some Marie Kondo tidying up. It's not about sparking joy. This is about gutting agencies, firing career experts, and putting buddies of, shall we say, questionable judgment in charge. Sound familiar? It should, because it's happened before. In places we don't like to talk about over tea and crumpets. Places where democracy took a backseat to dictatorship. Where freedoms were stripped away one by one. So, let's be vigilant. Let's stay informed. Because the shadow over tomorrow is only as dark as we allow it to be. So, what's on the menu for this governmental downsizing? It's not just a simple cutback. Well, picture this. Fewer federal agencies, like way fewer. We're talking about a significant reduction in the number of departments. Think departments merging faster than a game of Tetris on fast forward. It's a chaotic reorganization, almost like a puzzle that never quite fits together. And those hard-working civil servants, the ones who have dedicated their lives to public service, the ones who actually keep the lights on, they're getting a restructuring. This means their roles are being redefined, often in ways that don't benefit them. That's fancy talk for fired or demoted until they quit. It's a harsh reality for many who have given years of service.
But wait, there's more. The Department of Justice, the FBI, these aren't just any agencies. You know, the folks who investigate actual crimes, the ones who ensure justice is served. Yeah, they'll be under new management, and not just any management, but one with a very specific agenda. Management with a direct line to, you guessed it, the big guy in charge. This centralization of power is unprecedented. Now, I'm no constitutional scholar, but that seems like a lot of power for one person, doesn't it? It's a concentration that could undermine the checks and balances of our system. Like giving a toddler a chainsaw and the keys to the Oval Office kind of power. It's a recipe for disaster, with potential consequences we can't even fully predict.
Okay, history lesson time. Let's dive into the past and uncover some truths. Remember those dictators we talked about? The ones who made headlines for all the wrong reasons? The ones with the bad haircuts and the even worse track records on human rights? Yeah, those guys. They loved centralizing power, they stacked the courts, muzzled the press, and silenced dissent. They made sure anyone who disagreed with them disappeared faster than a plate of cookies at a Weight Watchers meeting. It was a dark time.
Now, I'm not saying Project 2025 is going to turn us into some dystopian nightmare tomorrow. But let's be cautious. It's laying the groundwork for something potentially dangerous. It's normalizing the idea that one person should have all the control, and that's a dangerous road to go down. History has shown us the consequences. Remember, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's a lesson we can't afford to forget. And when power's concentrated in the hands of a few, the rest of us, we're just screwed. We need to stay vigilant and protect our freedoms.
Section 4, Safeguarding Our Future, the Power of We the People. So how do we stop this runaway train to authoritarianismville? Simple. We the people need to stand up and say nope. Remember those checks and balances they taught us about in school? Time to put those bad boys to work.
Call your representatives, write to your senators, organize protests, make so much noise that they can't ignore us. Because here's the thing, politicians, for all their faults, work for us. They're supposed to represent us, not their own self-interest. We need to remind them of that, loudly and often, because complacency, that's how democracies die. With a whimper, not a bang.
Section 5, the 11th hour, a call to action. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is serious. This isn't some abstract political debate. This is about the future of our country, about whether we want to live in a democracy or an autocracy.
We need to wake up. We need to get involved. We need to fight for the soul of our nation.
Because if we don't, well, let's just say 2025 won't be the year of flying cars. It'll be the year we traded in our freedoms for a one-way ticket to Tyrannyville. And trust me, the accommodations there suck. So let's get to work, people. We've got a country to save.
You know, it's that time again, and I've got 10 reasons why we should not vote for Trump for president. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. First off, can we talk about the chaos? Every time he's in the news, it's like watching a reality show on steroids. I mean, who needs drama when we've got enough going on in our lives? We don't need a president who treats politics like a Twitter feud. Seriously, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Reason number 2. Divisiveness. Remember that time he said there were good people on both sides? Yeah, that's not how you unite a country. We need a leader who brings people together, not one who fans the flames of division. We're all in this together, folks. Moving on to reason 3. Climate change. While the world is burning, he's busy rolling back environmental protections like it's some kind of game. I don't know about you, but I'd like to leave a livable planet for future generations. It's not just about us. It's about the kids, the grandkids, and all those future TikTok stars who need clean air and water. Reason number 4, the economy. He loves to brag about how he built the economy, but let's be real, the stock market isn't everything. What about the everyday worker? The minimum wage hasn't budged much, and people are still struggling to make ends meet. We need a president who cares about the average Joe, not just the billionaires. 5th reason, healthcare. Remember when he promised to repeal and replace Obamacare? Spoiler alert, he didn't. Millions of people still rely on that coverage, and we can't just throw them to the wolves. We need a leader who prioritizes our health, not one who plays political games with it. Number 6, foreign relations. His approach to diplomacy is like a toddler throwing a tantrum. Allies are confused, and adversaries are emboldened. We need someone who can navigate the world stage with grace, not someone who starts fights on social media. 7th reason, the rule of law. He's been impeached not once, but twice. That's not something to brag about. We need a president who respects the Constitution and the justice system, not one who thinks they're above it all. 8th, the truth. Let's face it, facts seem to fly out the window whenever he speaks. We need a leader who values honesty and transparency, not one who twists the truth to fit their narrative. 9th, let's talk about the pandemic. His response to COVID-19 was less than stellar. Downplaying it, spreading misinformation. It's like he thought it was a hoax. We need someone who takes public health seriously, not someone who treats it like an afterthought. And lastly, reason 10, empathy. A true leader should be able to connect with people, to understand their struggles. But time and time again, he's shown a lack of compassion. We need someone who cares about the people, not just their own ego. So, as we approach this election, let's remember these 10 reasons. Because our future deserves better. Let's choose wisely, folks.
Have you ever noticed how some leaders seem to thrive on power, manipulation, and a desperate need for admiration? Let's dive into the 5 defining characteristics of a narcissist authoritarian. And trust me, you might just recognize a familiar face. First up, we have grandiosity. Picture a cartoon figure with an oversized head, strutting around, boasting about their achievements, even if they're inflated or downright fabricated. This character believes they're the best, and no one can tell them otherwise. Sound familiar? Next, we have a lack of empathy. Imagine this cartoon character stepping over people who are struggling, completely oblivious to their pain. It's all about them, their needs, their desires. They can't relate to anyone else's suffering because, to them, it's all just background noise. Then there's manipulation. Picture our cartoon figure pulling strings like a puppet master, twisting words and facts to fit their narrative. They love to sow confusion, keeping everyone off balance to maintain control. Now let's talk about the need for admiration. This character is constantly seeking validation, looking in the mirror and demanding applause. They thrive on flattery and will do anything to keep the spotlight on themselves, even if it means tearing others down. Finally, we have authoritarianism. Imagine our cartoon figure with a crown, declaring themselves the ultimate authority. Dissent? Not on their watch. They suppress opposition and create an environment where questioning them is a dangerous game. Now, here's the kicker. Do you recognize these signs? Are you willing to cast your vote for someone who embodies these red flags? Think carefully, because the future is at stake. And sometimes, the most charming characters hide the darkest traits.